Hey everyone, how's it going? Alright, hang on, before we get started in this video, close this from full screen view, because I know you're watching it in full screen, and give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Okay, back to full screen. This is like a follow-on from the video I put out, the latest video I put out, which is where I went over the Devil's Elbow. You can see on the top of the screen the kind of the map, I guess, of the road. So this is the bottom of the climb. This is the first section. I want to say first off that I've made a mistake and I didn't put speed on this overview. So I was playing around too much with this new graphic where you can see like my cadence and my heart rate in the same graph, which I think is pretty cool. For those of you watching on a phone, it may not be as plain as those of you watching on a TV or on a PC screen. But yeah, it's like basically it gives like I think a better insight into the actual effort, and you can actually see my heart rate trend going up over time, which I guess you would assume with an effort like this. What some of you might notice is the fact that my heart rate doesn't just spike up and go straight up there. We finish this effort at like 175 beats a minute. But as you can see from that green trend line, it just keeps going up the whole way and it doesn't max out straight away. This is a great example of what long-term fitness does to you. And I guess the less well-trained you are, the higher your heart rate will peak straight away, and then you'll end up just flatlining for the whole effort. But anyway, this climb, the Devil's Elbow, those of you that have done the Dragon ride, it's like a massive ride in South Wales. It's probably one of the hardest put on events in the whole of the UK, like a bag full of climbing, and takes in some of the biggest climbs and most famous climbs in South Wales. But the Devil's Elbow is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's near Sennybridge. It's kind of north. It's the northern side of the Brecon Beacons. So in order to get you, I had to kind of cross over Cray Reservoir. And as you can see, it was an awful day. Even though this is kind of what we call British summer, the temperature was still kind of, mildly warm. It was like 15 degrees. But yeah, visibility was pretty poor. But this climb is kind of notorious for like how steep it is in the hairpins. It's not like ridiculously steep as you'll see from the gradient, but it's certainly one that if you're in the area, you definitely tick it off. And there is, Simon Warren's 100 Climbs book or app, whichever one you have, if you even have it. I don't actually have the app, but I know most of them, especially in Wales, and I should definitely do like a bit of a tour. I should definitely do all of them in Wales and make videos of them, because a lot of you probably aren't even from Wales, and you'd have never have ridden these climbs, and the other thing as well is like I'm obviously riding these climbs as hard as I can go, and it gives a little bit of a different perspective. You can also see, like, because I'm racing the climb, you can also see which lines I take, which lines I think are fastest. Like here, for example, I don't actually take the inside line on this hairpin. I come kind of middle of the road. If I had my time again, I'd come wider. And that is only because, at this moment in time, I'm in my smallest gear. You can see my cadence in the kind of bottom left there. You can see it's at 95 RPM, but it does actually go up to 100 now. Oh, watch out for the sheep coming up on the right. They're crossing the road. Typical sheep. Yeah, typical. Watch out for those if you're coming down here, by the way. So the cadence here is really high. I have got a 36-30. That's my gear ratio, and that is the actual gear ratio I'm pushing right now on this 15% gradient. But I'm 430 watts, which is like 7 watts per kilo. I'm doing 100 RPM, and it's a perfect gear for this terrain. But really, like, I would have come wider on that hairpin and the next hairpin because I wouldn't want to get slightly bogged down in that gear. That's all it allows you to do is flatten out that gradient a little bit by coming wider into the hairpin. Yes, you might lose like a second possibly in time, but then you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of whether or not you're going to be able to. And at the end of the effort like this, which for me was a 6-minute 9-second ascent of the actual segment, the 100 climb segment, you know, when I'm getting really far into the effort, I'm not really thinking about like, I'd rather think about keeping the same cadence and keeping the same power rather than like hitting the middle, the kind of inside of the hairpin, and then, you know, kind of struggling to get that gear over as I come out to the hairpin. The more things that are controlled and the more things that feel easier when you're this far into the effort, the better. So like, you don't want to be, you know, coming into the hairpin and then coming out to it and going, oh, you know, I'm really over geared now and I need to like get it going again. That really upsets the rhythm. So this is the top bit, the last bit. So the first part of this climb, which is that long straight section, is very much like a undulating section. It's definitely the fastest section, but it's the hairpins that are the slowest section of this whole climb. But it's definitely one to do. It's definitely one to tick off. This is the first time I've ever done this climb, ever. I've ridden to it from the way I descended down. I've ridden to it, but I've never descended down it and then climbed back up it. I have no idea why I didn't, but that was a good few years ago. And I was also not strong then as I am now, so that's probably why I was scared of the climb. But there's no need to be scared. It's only a devil's elbow. You'll be fine. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't liked it already, then like it, please. And don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you again in the next one.